I'm Gabby Russo, account manager at Keystone Consultants, where I spent 3 caffeinated years turning impossible client demands into profitable partnerships, and surviving corporate absurdity with my arsenal of stress balls, emergency chocolate hidden in a tax documents folder, and Carl the googly-eyed cactus. My prized window desk overlooked a pizza joint and a personal injury billboard, hardly glamorous, but mine. Organized chaos reigned, color-coded client files, strategically placed stress gadgets, and a cactus that had weathered coffee spills and HVAC disasters. For 18 months, I'd nurtured the Pinnacle Industries account from a cold lead into a multi-million-dollar client. My approach was refreshingly analog, real conversations, relationship building, and zero buzzword-laden PowerPoint nonsense. It worked, until Vincent Peterson showed up. Newly minted VP, Harvard MBA, and corporate predator in cologne-soaked leather shoes, Vincent believed speed trumped substance. His office was a shrine to ego, marble floors, a putting green, and more crystal trophies than a pageant mom's dream shelf. "We need someone who can close faster," he said, sliding my Pinnacle files across his desk like casino chips. "Relationships are obstacles to profit." I nodded, tried to exit gracefully, and knocked over his entire trophy display. 23 crystal monuments to mediocrity hit the floor like corporate wind chimes. As I returned the outstanding client relations trophy to his sacred shelf, I knew one thing. This wasn't over. 3 days later, I was peacefully updating my LinkedIn profile, adding diplomatic phrases like experienced in relationship-focused account management and proven track record of sustainable client retention, when Vincent exploded through our office doors like a caffeinated hurricane wearing a wrinkled suit and the panicked expression of someone who just discovered their parachute was actually a backpack full of office supplies. Why did they pull the contract? His voice achieved a pitch that probably violated several noise ordinances and sent shockwaves through our open-plan office ecosystem. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Phone conversations died mid-sentence, keyboards fell silent as if someone had activated an office-wide mute button, and even our ancient copy machine seemed to hold its mechanical breath in respectful terror. I spun around in my ergonomic chair, perhaps too enthusiastically, because the wheels caught on the perpetually loose carpet edge that facilities had been promising to fix since the Clinton administration. The chair began rotating like a corporate carousel, giving me a kaleidoscopic view of my coworkers' faces, all turned toward the Vincent Peterson meltdown spectacular currently playing in surround sound. First revolution, I glimpsed Tammy from HR reaching for her phone, probably speed dialing security or perhaps the employee assistance program. Second spin revealed Bradley Hamilton attempting to become invisible behind his computer monitor like a well-dressed ostrich. Third rotation showed Vincent's face in all its purple, sweaty glory, twitching like a malfunctioning GPS unit desperately trying to recalculate its existence. Which contract would that be? I asked with practiced innocence, still spinning but gradually slowing to conversational velocity. Pinnacle Industries. He stormed toward my desk with the purposeful determination of a man on a mission, arms windmilling like those inflatable tube dancers you see at car lots, except significantly less coordinated and exponentially more desperate. His usually immaculate hair looked like he'd been electroshocked, his tie hung askew, and there appeared to be what looked suspiciously like mustard on his shirt cuff. They canceled everything. Demanded refunds. Said they only trusted their original contact. My chair completed its final revolution, leaving me slightly dizzy but facing our office aquarium where Gerald the goldfish was performing what appeared to be an interpretive dance routine about corporate mortality, floating belly up in a display of dramatic protest that I'd learned to recognize as his commentary on office politics. That does sound problematic, I observed, slowly rotating to face Vincent while my inner ear recovered from the involuntary carnival ride. Who has been managing the account during this transition period? Bradley Hamilton. Vincent's voice cracked like a pubescent teenager auditioning for the school play. That smooth-talking corporate snake convinced me he could close them in 48 hours. Promised revolutionary strategies and innovative approaches that would maximize their ROI while streamlining their operational efficiency. Bradley materialized beside my desk as if summoned by the sound of his own name being shrieked across the office. Harvard MBA, corner office with actual windows that opened, and teeth so artificially whitened they probably required their own electrical grid. He'd joined our humble consulting firm 6 months ago with grand promises to revolutionize client engagement paradigms and synergize competitive advantages for optimal stakeholder value creation. His actual accomplishments included poaching 3 established clients through what he euphemistically called aggressive relationship transitioning, monopolizing the premium coffee machine in our break room, and somehow securing the parking space closest to the building despite having the seniority of a summer intern. What specifically did Bradley do to achieve these remarkable results? I inquired, genuinely fascinated by the mechanics of this particular corporate disaster. Vincent's left eye developed a twitch that would have been medically concerning if it weren't so obviously stress-induced. He offered them an unauthorized 30% discount without consulting profit margins, upgraded their service package to premium level at no additional cost, promised to personally handle all their needs while treating them to dinner at the city's most expensive restaurant, and guaranteed results that would have required suspending several fundamental laws of physics and economics. And how did that strategy work out? I prompted, though Vincent's expression, resembling someone who'd watched their house burn down while their insurance company denied coverage, made the answer fairly obvious. He took them to McDonald's. Vincent achieved a vocal pitch that probably startled neighborhood dogs. Claimed it was ironically authentic and represented the democratization of premium dining experiences. Then he spilled a chocolate milkshake across their CEO's laptop during his presentation about fluid business solutions and dynamic communication methodologies. The office had achieved a silence so complete that I could hear the fluorescent lights humming their eternal corporate lullaby. Even our perpetually running printer seemed to have paused out of respectful horror. So they terminated the contract? I asked, though the question was purely rhetorical given Vincent's current state of barely controlled panic. Terminated? They didn't just terminate, they demanded full restitution of all payments made over the last 6 months, threatened to broadcast negative reviews across every business platform in the known universe, and their CEO specifically requested that Bradley Hamilton be permanently banned from all future communications. They called us unprofessional carnival acts masquerading as legitimate business consultants. Vincent began pacing behind my desk like a caged corporate predator, his expensive Italian leather shoes creating a rhythmic squeaking symphony against our industrial linoleum flooring. The sound provided an oddly hypnotic soundtrack to his mounting desperation. "You have to fix this catastrophe, Russo," he declared, gesturing wildly with hands that seemed to be conducting an invisible orchestra of panic. "You're our only hope. You understand their business model, their corporate culture, their decision-making processes. You have the personal relationships and industry credibility to salvage this complete disaster." I leaned back in my chair, savoring this moment of workplace karma like a perfectly aged wine that had been stored in the cellar of professional vindication. The afternoon sunlight streaming through my window created perfect dramatic lighting for what was essentially corporate theater at its most entertaining. "But Vincent," I said thoughtfully, retrieving my favorite stress ball, a miniature businessman in a tiny suit that I'd squeezed during particularly challenging phone calls, from my desk drawer, "don't you remember yesterday's conversation? You specifically said you needed someone who could close faster. Someone more aggressive. Someone who understood that relationships are just obstacles to profit margins." His face cycled through a spectacular range of colors that weren't typically found in nature, finally settling on an alarming shade of green that reminded me of the mysterious casserole from last week's office potluck that nobody had been brave enough to identify. "This is a code red emergency situation," he announced dramatically, as if we were starring in some kind of corporate action thriller. "The senior partners are breathing down my neck like fire-breathing dragons in $1,000 suits. If we permanently lose Pinnacle, it's going to devastate everyone's quarterly bonuses, destroy our annual performance metrics, and possibly eliminate the budget for the Christmas party." That final threat captured the office's collective attention with laser-like precision. 20 pairs of eyes suddenly focused on Vincent with the intensity of people who'd just learned that their favorite television show was being cancelled. The Christmas party represented sacred ground, the one annual event where everyone temporarily forgot their professional grievances while consuming dangerous quantities of spiked eggnog and making regrettable photocopying decisions. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for this particular challenge," I mused, continuing to squeeze my stress ball executive while Vincent's panic reached new atmospheric levels. "I've been quite busy updating my professional profiles lately. Did you know that my LinkedIn now describes me as a dedicated professional with extensive experience in sustainable client relationship development through patient engagement strategies and authentic partnership building?" Vincent's eye twitch accelerated to the point where I began genuinely considering whether I should call our employee health services. "What exactly do you want, Russo? Name your terms. Within reason. And company policy. And legal boundaries. And budget constraints. The entire office held its collective breath like an audience watching a high-wire performance without safety nets. This was superior entertainment to any reality television program, real-time corporate drama with genuine consequences and actual stakes. Nothing too unreasonable, I replied, maintaining my casual tone while Vincent's desperation reached critical mass. Just permanent reassignment of the Pinnacle account back to my management, with written documentation. A formal apology to the entire team for the disruption and unprofessional outbursts of recent days. And perhaps we could finally discuss that promotion you've been promising for the past 2 years, along with the corresponding salary adjustment that should have accompanied it. Vincent opened his mouth, probably to negotiate, refuse, or launch into another motivational speech about corporate restructuring and market dynamics, when his phone erupted with the ominous ringtone he'd assigned specifically to calls from the senior partners, Beethoven's Funeral March, which had seemed pretentiously sophisticated when he'd selected it but now felt prophetically appropriate. He glanced at the caller identification and went completely pale, as if all the blood had simultaneously decided to abandon his face and seek employment elsewhere. Senior partner Jameson, he whispered with the reverence typically reserved for natural disasters or tax audits. The office tension could have been bottled and sold as a stress-inducing supplement. Everyone made elaborate pretenses of returning to work while straining to hear every syllable of what promised to be an epic conversation. Vincent answered with transparently false confidence that wouldn't have fooled a particularly naive kindergartner. Peterson speaking. Good afternoon, sir. The Pinnacle situation? Well, actually, we're implementing strategic damage control measures. His voice dropped to a stage whisper that somehow carried across the entire office. No, sir. Yes, sir. I completely understand the severity. Immediately, sir. Absolutely, sir. Consider it resolved. He terminated the call and stared at me with the expression of someone who'd just realized they'd been playing checkers while everyone else was engaged in four-dimensional corporate chess. Complete resolution required by close of business today, he said quietly, or multiple people will be seeking new employment opportunities tomorrow morning. Starting with me. And Bradley. And potentially anyone else involved in this disaster. What transpired next could only be described as corporate slapstick elevated to the level of high art, a masterpiece of workplace chaos that would be whispered about in break rooms and elevator conversations for years to come. Vincent, consumed by desperate urgency to demonstrate immediate action, lunged toward my desk phone with the intention of personally calling Pinnacle and attempting some form of executive damage control. In his haste, he completely failed to notice my strategically positioned briefcase, the same leather case I'd deliberately placed beside my chair that morning when intuition suggested that Tuesday might become memorable. His expensive Italian footwear, designed primarily for impressing clients in boardroom environments rather than navigating obstacle courses created by office furniture, connected with the briefcase handle with perfect timing. Vincent stumbled forward with all the grace and coordination of a newborn giraffe attempting ice skating, his arms windmilling frantically as he fought against gravity and his own momentum. Seeking stability in his moment of crisis, he grabbed for my brass desk lamp, a sturdy, reliable fixture that had been a gift from my first major client success. The lamp, despite its robust construction, wasn't engineered to support the full weight of a panicking vice president in mid-fall. It toppled with dramatic flair, creating a domino effect that knocked into my coffee mug from the morning's earlier incident. The mug, apparently not content with its previous performance, launched into another spectacular aerial display. This time it executed an even more impressive trajectory, sailing over the low partition separating our workspace from the break room area, spinning with the precision of a ceramic Olympic athlete competing for gold in synchronized flying. It achieved perfect target acquisition on Bradley Hamilton's immaculately styled head just as he emerged from the break room, carrying his third espresso of the afternoon and wearing the smug expression of someone who believed himself safely outside the blast radius of Vincent's corporate meltdown. What the hell, Bradley yelped, leaping backward like he'd been struck by caffeinated lightning. Coffee cascaded down his face, soaking into his designer shirt that probably cost more than most people's monthly grocery budgets. His backward momentum carried him directly into Jenny from accounting, who had chosen that precise moment to exit the supply closet carrying a precarious tower of quarterly reports that reached nearly to the ceiling tiles. The collision was spectacular in its completeness. Papers exploded everywhere like corporate confetti, creating a blizzard of financial statements, expense reports, and budget projections that fluttered through the air with the ethereal beauty of a document-based snow globe being shaken by an enthusiastic giant. The quarterly reports scattered across the floor in a perfect carpet of bureaucratic chaos, just as Vincent attempted to regain both his footing and his professional dignity. He stepped directly onto an expense report that had been printed on our premium presentation paper, the slippery, high-quality stock reserved for impressing important clients. His feet shot out from under him like he was attempting to steal second base in the corporate World Series. Vincent's slide across our office floor was a thing of terrible beauty, a perfect demonstration of how expensive footwear and glossy paper could collaborate to create an impromptu slip-and-slide experience. He traveled approximately 12 feet, tie streaming behind him like a silk banner of defeat, before achieving direct contact with our office water cooler. The water cooler, a massive blue plastic monument to workplace hydration positioned in the corner for maximum inconvenience, never stood a chance against Vincent's momentum. It tipped with the slow-motion majesty of a falling redwood, wobbled for a dramatically extended moment while the entire office held its collective breath, then crashed over with a sound that echoed through the building like corporate thunder. Water erupted everywhere, gallons upon gallons of it, creating an instant indoor lake that spread across our carpet with the enthusiasm of a flash flood. It soaked into files, seeped under desks, and most catastrophically, began pooling around the electrical outlets that powered half our office equipment. Every computer in the office flickered like dying stars. Monitors went black in succession. Our ancient but reliable copy machine gave a mechanical death rattle and fell into permanent silence. Even the break room coffee maker seemed to wheeze and surrender its electronic soul. The silence that followed was profound and almost sacred, broken only by the gentle glub-glub-glub of water still trickling from the overturned cooler, Vincent's labored breathing as he lay sprawled across the soggy carpet like a beached executive whale, and the soft rustling of quarterly reports slowly absorbing water and transforming into expensive papier-mâché. Vincent resembled a corporate scarecrow that had been caught in a hurricane. Quarterly reports clung to his suit jacket like bureaucratic autumn leaves. Someone's forgotten tuna sandwich from the break room refrigerator had somehow become plastered to his shoulder, and several rubber bands were tangled in his hair like office supply jewelry. His tie had wrapped around his neck in a way that would have been medically concerning if it hadn't looked so perfectly ridiculous. "Well," I announced cheerfully, rising from my chair and stepping carefully around the chaos like someone navigating a minefield constructed entirely of wounded egos and office supplies, "I suppose I should contact Pinnacle now. Fortunately, I have their direct number memorized and my cell phone appears to be fully functional." 25 minutes later, I was conducting business as usual from my miraculously undamaged corner desk while the great office flood cleanup continued around me like some kind of corporate disaster recovery operation. The IT department had arrived like a SWAT team of electronic medics, shaking their heads at the water damage while muttering technical terms that sounded like ancient incantations designed to resurrect dead computers. "Gabby." James Morrison's voice boomed through my cell phone with the warmth of someone genuinely delighted to hear from a trusted friend. "Thank goodness you're calling." We were beginning to wonder when we'd hear from our actual account manager again. That Bradley character certainly provided us with some educational insights into modern business practices. "I heard about the situation," I replied diplomatically, watching Vincent attempt to wring lake water from his designer tie while Brenda applied industrial-strength stain remover to what remained of his professional appearance. "I want to personally apologize for the confusion and unprofessional behavior. There was a significant miscommunication regarding account transitions and quality control standards." "Don't worry about it, Gabby. We've been in business long enough to recognize that these things happen, especially during corporate restructuring phases. What matters is that you're back where you belong. We've always valued your straightforward approach, no theatrical presentations, no unrealistic discount schemes, no abstract theories about paradigm shifts. Just honest work, reliable results, and someone who actually listens when we talk." While I conducted professional business, the office around me resembled the aftermath of a corporate natural disaster. Vincent sat at his waterlogged workstation, desperately attempting to restart his computer while making increasingly frantic calls to technical support. Bradley had disappeared into the men's room with a stack of paper towels, attempting to salvage both his designer shirt and what remained of his professional dignity. Industrial fans and dehumidifiers had transformed our workspace into something resembling an airplane hangar during a windstorm. Gerald the goldfish had been temporarily relocated to a spare bowl on my desk, where he seemed to be thoroughly enjoying both the excitement and his upgraded accommodations. Actually, Gabby, James continued, this entire situation has prompted some important discussions on our end. We've been impressed with how Keystone is handling this crisis. It demonstrates real character and leadership to acknowledge mistakes, accept responsibility, and restore proper management to important client relationships. I glanced toward Vincent, who had abandoned all pretense of not eavesdropping and was now staring at me with the desperate hope of someone watching their entire career balance precariously on the edge of a professional cliff. We'd like to expand our arrangement with Keystone, James announced, and I could practically hear Vincent's cardiac system restart from across the office. We've been considering bringing in consultants for our West Coast expansion, and after today's educational experiences, we're convinced that relationship-focused approaches and personal attention are exactly what we need. Would you be interested in managing a project approximately 40% larger than our current contract? By 5:30 that evening, our office was mostly dry, the computers were functioning again, and I possessed a signed contract expansion worth significantly more than our original Pinnacle arrangement. Vincent had also signed my promotion paperwork, in triplicate, with multiple witnesses, and what appeared to be a small shrine of gratitude constructed from surviving office supplies. 6 months later, I'm in my new corner office, private, with actual walls, when Vincent knocks, polite and humbled. Gabby, he says, Apex Industries wants consulting help. They asked for someone who builds relationships and delivers sustainable value over flashy quick wins. Turns out, word of my success with Pinnacle has spread. From my desk, I see Bradley managing accounts with new humility, and Gerald the fish now shares his tank with Franklin and Roosevelt. I tell Vincent to set the meeting at a quiet cafe, no gimmicks, just real conversations. As he leaves, I get a text from James, coffee next week? Colleagues want to meet the consultant who listens and delivers. I smile. Sometimes, patience is the boldest strategy, and the fastest way forward.